everyone, and welcome to the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Guerra, and today's episode is going to be amazing. I'm super excited to introduce to you a lovely person who I just met fairly recently. This is Jaylah Sandoval. Hi, Jaylah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I'm very excited to talk with you and get to know you a little bit better. So Jaylah, just for some background for folks, Jaylah is a multimedia personality. She has done it all. She has done work in tech, she's done modeling, she's done radio, and she actually has a new podcast coming out in April, which is very exciting. It's called Along the Way podcast. And so if you're listening in real time, it will come out in about a month, so April 2025. Yay!
Yes, I'm so excited.
Very exciting.
I've been working on it a lot. I've been like, yes, no, is that it? Is it not it? I've been like, when you contemplate, you're like, is it the right one? Or should I go back and restart my old one? It already has numbers. But I feel like I'm in a new season of my life with crazy, lifing, like they say.
Life is lifing.
So I think this is a great way to show what's happened to me, not only in my past, but what's going to happen along the way in the future.
That's right. Yeah, life is a journey. That is for sure. It's so crazy. Every year I'm like, wow, just like the surprising things that happen, right? It's amazing. But
yeah, and it's crazy when you have kids too, because you turn around and you see your friends' kids, like when you didn't have kids.
Yes.
And you're like, wait, what do you mean they're 15 or they're 16? Exactly. And then I do the calculations. I'm like, but they were only 4, 5, 6, 7 years old when my daughter was born. And now she's about to be in double digits too. And I'm like, oh my God, that's why I have so many canas. That's why I saw the grays.
I feel you. I know my little grays are here too.
I love my grays. I used to pay for my hair to be white. Now I'm embracing it. My mom's like, "Píntate el pelo." I'm like, no, I'm going to let them all grow in.
Yeah, we earned it. I love it. I do see that a little bit more and more women are embracing their grays and not coloring their hair as much and just kind of letting it do its thing. We earned it. It's a lot of life lived and wisdom in those grays for sure. So
that's for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll go ahead and dive in. And I always love to ask my guests about culture. So Latinas are very diverse. We come from all different backgrounds and experiences. For example, like being Ecuadorian American is different than being Cuban American, or growing up or in Costa Rica and then coming to the US as a teenager, for example, any number of stories. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background and how you understand your Latina identity.
So for me, it's always been, I don't like to use the word confusing because I've known that I've always been super Latina. It's evident. But it's been confusing in the sense because I come from such two small countries. I'm Costa Rican, Salvadorian, growing up in, South Florida and Boca Raton, more, Jewish area. And it was always like, well, I wasn't white enough, but I also wasn't like that crazy, like you only stick with your countries. Because at that point when I was going to school, it was like Brazilians stuck with Brazilians, Colombians with Colombians.
Little mini groups.
Right. And I was like the complete opposite. I was like a bunny jumping around like in all the groups and all the people and all the Latinos and all the
friends.
It's just everywhere. Like I was just, that's just what my personality is. So it was hard to feel like I had people who understood me and my specific things in culture. Like, I put sour cream we call it natilla, but I put like natilla on a lot of stuff and people look at me like I'm crazy. But that's my culture. That's the way I was raised. That to me and my family and my primas and everything, it's normal. The Salvadorian side was a little bit easier to kind of integrate in the family side. But on the outside side, it was hard because everybody was like, Mara Salvatrucha, you guys are gang members, you're this, you're that. Oh, we're scared of you. And they would make fun. But my mom is the youngest of 8 and most of them live in my neighborhood.
Oh,
So
really?
we were all at
Oh,
walking distance. So I have over 20 plus
amazing.
cousins
Oh,
that,
amazing.
different age ranges,
Mhm.
that where we had each other at least. So it was very like a very different, like a puzzle piece. Like it was just
Mhm.
very, like it didn't look like what it should have. But that also taught me to integrate to a lot of other cultures.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
me, I always related like my Costa Rican side to like, it reminds me so much of like the Dominican culture,
Yes.
the way they
Yes.
speak, the way they're animados, the food, the
I call it
culture.
tropical. Like I call it más tropical. Like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like pura
Yeah.
vida. Like that's what I feel like,
Totally.
And so I would get, oh, she's trying to be a fake Dominican. It's like, no, it's just that this was what I was comfortable with. It
Sure.
was
Yeah.
what I felt was closest to what I felt like home,
Mhm.
especially here. Like, there's no Costa Ricans. I promise you, in South Florida, I've met 5 Costa Ricans in my
Really?
entire like school life, like
Mhm.
adult life.
Mhm.
Like, it's very, very, very rare.
Mhm. Mhm.
I know that up north in New Jersey and different areas when I lived in New York, it was a little different,
Mhm.
but still,
Yeah.
it was completely like day and night. So for me, I just really integrated with a lot of learning a lot of different cultures. And the good part is that on my Costa Rican side, we're all half. So we're
Oh,
Costa Rican,
interesting.
yeah, we're Costa Rican Salvadorian, we have Costa Rican
Mm.
Ecuadorian,
Mm.
Mexican, Colombian. So, when I went to see my cousins,
They understood. Like
they
yeah.
understood my side, but they
Mhm.
also taught me their other half. So, like my cousin, he loves and he's so proud of being Mexican. So there's a different level of respect and
Mhm.
things that you speak about,
Mhm.
and you learn from them. So it makes you feel more connected. So I
Mhm.
think that was like the hardest challenge, but it also molded me into who I am, that I feel like a chameleon, because I
Mhm.
can go any country, and I've done it before,
Mhm.
and I can hang out with anybody and find
Mhm.
at least some type of like connection.
Connection. Mhm. Mhm. That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. That's really beautiful that you had a lot of your family members from your El Salvadorian side that they lived locally, that they were very close by, that you could see them often and stuff. That's wonderful.
And
So,
then we got lucky because the tias are here. So we got pupusas
oh,
and
love it.
all the
All the good food.
panes,
Pan con
homemade
pollo, right? Pan con
quesadillas,
pollo.
pan con pollo, all the homemade quesadillas, and
So
la
good.
sopita de marisco. Like, we have our little like family, traditions and things
Yeah.
when they're staples at this point.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So I am also Central American. I am Guatemalan, and then my dad's side of the family is Ecuadorian. So very similarly, I completely relate to that feeling like not quite fitting in, right? Because it's like, well, I'm not completely Ecuadorian. I'm not completely Guatemalan. I grew up in Los Angeles, Los Angeles is, while there are some Central Americans, it is predominantly Mexican American
Absolutely.
culturally, right? At least. So I totally understand. And I remember, growing up, it didn't happen often, but I do remember a handful of times in which people would make fun of my food or make fun of what my
Oh
mom
my
had packed me
God.
for lunch and making comments and stuff. Kids can be awful. Okay. Can I just
I
say that? They're
I
just,
was just having
oh,
that conversation with my 10-year-old. Well, she's about
okay.
to be 10 in June.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Mommy, they don't make fun of you at school for taking tu arroz con pollo, tu arroz con frijoles?" She
Hmm.
goes, "No." She's like, "And I'm not gonna stop taking it even if they did." And
Good
so
for
it's
her.
it's
Hmm.
great to see this culture, because before we would be like,
Shamed for it.
como
Like,
que un
yeah.
poquito de pena,
Claro.
It's
Yeah.
like, "Mommy, I just want a Lunchable or like a peanut butter and jelly, just come on."
Yeah,
And she would be
exactly.
like, "Eso no es lo que hay que comer aquí." So,
Eso no es
you
comida. Yeah.
walk out with your thermos and
Yeah.
it smells like pollo, arroz con pollo
Yeah.
everywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I used to ask my mom, like, "Mom, can you make me just like a bologna sandwich or something?" She's like, "No, no, no." I was like, "That's not food." Like, oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, it's fascinating. Culture is fascinating. I love it. So that's very cool. Yes. Huh. So you grew up you mentioned Boca Raton. Is that the city you grew up in Florida?
Yeah, so
Hmm.
I was actually born in Long Island, New York,
Ah.
and then we moved down.
Okay.
So I was raised in South Florida, spent my entire school career here. Went to, all the schools in Boca, and then went to FIU in
Oh,
Miami
nice. Mm-hmm.
for college. And then I took my, um, my dad calls it, he was not very fond when I moved to New York, but um, como que la desesperación de estar ahí. I've always felt like I never fit in South Florida. I always felt very different. I used to be 275 pounds, and all the little blanquitas were all like Barbie
Tiny.
dolls.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't that Barbie doll. I was the loud Latina who was always like, yo, let's go. I was planning all the bus parties for school. Like
I love it.
At the high school, I was like doing grad bash and all the trips to the theme parks. Like I was involved like with early childhood education classes. So like I always tried to keep myself busy because I felt like I just didn't fit in. And I would always like kind of hang out with the adults, to be quite honest. I would hang out with my teachers and administration, and I would try to get into like all those little roles because I just didn't feel like I got along with my peers here. Like totally. I felt very abandoned, like very lonely. So when I moved to New York, I felt like a completely different like version of me.
Brand new start. Yeah.
It was just like day and night. And it was just for me, I guess, like life support. Like I needed it at that time. I needed it. Yeah. And it helped me, figure out what my identity was. And, and even though identity is never solid, it's always ever evolving. A big part of it was moving to New York and made a huge difference in my life.
Wow. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think it's such an important process as far as like taking the leap. I tell everyone as much as I can, I'm like, if you have the opportunity to leave the place you grew up in, even for a summer, even for a year, whatever it is, go. Like you need to uproot a little bit to know who you are, right? Independent. And what do I mean by that? Independent of your family, your neighbors, your friends that you've known forever. It's like, who are you? Who are you as a person?
And how do you navigate? How do you navigate alone? Yes. Because sometimes we don't realize how codependent we are with our families, especially 1,000%. As Latinos, because we help each other out with everything. We, si alguien se enferma, everybody brings a different plate, una sopa de cada cosa. So it's one of those things where it's so important. And my piece of advice when people are like, how did you do that? Like that took a lot of guts. I said, well, how's your life right now? And they're like, oh, this, I'm fine. I have a place. I have this, I have that. I'm like, okay. So the worst that can happen is you go, it doesn't work, and you come right back to this.
Yeah. It'll be here, most likely.
You come back literally to the same thing you were doing before. And if that's what makes you happy, so be it. And so many people have been like, that was so easy. And it's so like complicated at the same time. And but that was the way I saw it. And I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to go home to my family. Like, let me take this risk. Let me see if I can break these cycles, grow, like build something different, open new doors. There's nobody in my family. I didn't get any help being in the industry or on radio or La Mega with Alex Sensation. I did that all on my own. I had to figure it out. How to get into radio. All I said, it was like, well, I can't sing, can't play an instrument, love music. What can I use? My voice. Cool. How can I use my voice? Radio. Awesome. How do I get there? And created obviously I was blindly walking because I don't have, like I said, family members or anybody to guide me or into modeling to be like, hey, you should do this. This is my advice. I didn't have any of that.
Right.
We had to figure it out. We're, first generation immigrant children. Yep. And, like that's what it was, so it's life.
It's true. It's amazing. And it's so true. Like taking the risk and just, figuring it out as we go along, because it's true. Like there's no instruction book, there's no guidebook. We don't have people to tell us, oh, this is how you apply for this is how you get into that. Because most of us, our families are not in those fields or don't have any experience. My parents, when like they were excited for me to go to college, and they knew that was a good thing, right? Like, good college education, that's great. But could they help me figure out those forms? No. Did they know what that looked like? Grad school, forget it. They're like, you're going to go do what now? You know, yeah.
I'm going to be completely transparent. Even now, I want to go back to school, and I was looking at things, and I still looked at it like a deer in headlights because I still don't know.
Yeah.
That's why people end up with all these crazy student loans and not grants, and or scholarships. It's just the lack of knowledge. But that's, part of the reason why I left. That's part of the reason why I wanted to explore so many different avenues and continue, being from early childhood education to media and radio, to behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, and then tech, and figuring it out. But at least that knowledge comes along the way, no pun intended. And, you find those people also. And that's what it is. It's finding those people that you come across on your journey that really make those small differerences.
Totally. Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I do feel like God or the universe, or however you want to, however a person wants to think about it, we are guided in a way. I think the right people come into our lives at the right time.
Even the wrong people, unfortunately.
Even the wrong people, it's tough. That's a hard one, right? That's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest part, because sometimes that's what is needed to break the chains, to break the cycle, to break down those new lessons. Doors.
Yeah. There's some hard lessons, but they have to be learned. Like, it's true. Yeah. It's so true. Oh my gosh. So on the topic of faith, and spirit, I would love if you would share with us a little bit of your perspective in terms of, so I'll say it very broadly. So I know that many of us as Latinas, many of us were at least exposed to Roman Catholicism, Christianity of some type, denomination, etc. And also there's so many other ways of expressing spirituality or faith, like curanderismo, santeria. There are Latinos who are Jewish, Latinos who
Mormon,
Mormon, absolutely.
My best friend is Mormon.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's so many different ways of practicing one's belief, faith, spirit. And so I would love to hear from you, kind of what you see as, what's your perspective?
My perspective is, I'm super respectful to all different religions and spiritual beliefs. I don't think that I tend to believe like, oh, that's not real. I think I've seen and experienced, and again, been around so many cultures and traveled, that I've seen so many different people. And if anything, it's exciting to hear their perspectives. But, you also have your personal take. So like for me personally, I grew up Roman Catholic. I did all my 7 sacraments.
Nice.
I was an altar server on TV. I was the first female captain in a captain role, like in one of the Catholic churches. That was really big because our priest at the time was very famous. And he did like Celia Cruz's funeral, and so we were televised. We were doing all those things.
Wow.
And, all of that. Even though I didn't get to go to the Celia one, but there was a lot to it. But I grew up very very strictly Catholic, and my family's Catholic. My mom is devout, like she's not going anywhere. A couple years ago, I did baptize Christian. For me, it was a different experience because I had gone through a couple dark years through my divorce and domestic violence, and just a lot of abuse mentally and emotionally and stuff, that I stopped believing in God, just period. I stopped believing in everything. So I wanted to look into spirituality in the sense of, like tarot cards and angels and all these, I've tried it. I've been in those spaces, but like sometimes it's like when in your heart, like it could be the coolest, most awesome, most beautiful thing, but when it's just not for you. So I respect it. And they're still like, I still love my crystals.
Yeah.
I still love my crystals, and I like to sage, and I like to I still do certain things, but I'm more Christian now.
Then
And and it was through a friend that she brought me into her, community. She's like, listen, you're in a weird space. Like, just come check it out with me. And it really resonated with me because I feel like I had so many questions as into why this was happening to me in my life.
Yeah.
And why did I have to go through divorce? Why did I have to go through domestic violence with the person that I gave a child to? Why? And I was very angry at God. And that anger wasn't who I was. And when I resonated and I heard the word of God through that particular message, it kind of clicked for me. So I kept going, and I was like, well, let me take my time. Like, let me do this pasito a pasito. And, it did cause a rift in my family. They didn't come to my baptism. They didn't come to my daughter's baptism. Wow. They've tried coming to the service, but it's just not for them. And I understand that. And I respect it the way that I hope they respect my choices. Because for me, I feel like I'm closer to God now more than ever. And that's because now I'm understanding the word. I'm listening to an actual, for me, I felt like being Catholic, everything was just repetition. Yeah. Like, you do El Padre Nuestro, you do La Virgencita Maria, you stand up, you sit down, the priest reads. Like, it's just very robotic. And I'm not a robotic type of person. So having the different types of worship songs, the uplifting, the word, the way it resonates with what I'm currently living, or what I've lived, it was such a huge eye opener for me that I was like, I never thought I'd be this person saying no, we're going to church on Sunday. Like, I'm not missing this, or there's worship night. I want to go. That's huge. I have that need, that want. It fulfills me. Even, at my sickest point, I remember I could barely even stand. I was laying on a chair at service because it's such a small community. I was laying on a chair with my blankie, a blanket covered up, but I needed to be there in that presence. And when I got out, it was like a release. So for me, that was my journey, and I encourage people, go through it. I have a cousin who she's traveled to India. She loves Buddhism, and her mom is super Christian. And so it's what I feel like it's like whatever fills your heart, whatever gives you that peace, that sense of, I have something bigger in my life to turn to when I'm at my lowest, or when I can't feel anymore, or when I'm really frustrated or happy or, questionable.
Yeah. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Jaylah, for sharing. Oh gosh, there's so many things that I want to touch upon about what you just shared. It's fantastic. So I agree with you. So I was raised Roman Catholic. I'm still practicing. And I'm also very into curanderismo and tarot and crystals and things like that. And so for some people, they might say that is not acceptable or appropriate or contradictory. Honestly, that's okay. You know what I mean? I feel connected to God. I feel connected to the creator. And that's all I need.
People say that you're not allowed to put pineapple on pizza. And I just had a couple slices this afternoon.
And it was delicious. There you go. Exactly. So it's true. That's the thing, each of us, every human being is unique, and all of us connect in different ways. For some people, going on a big hike is such a spiritual experience, or doing yoga or things like that, right? It's transforming for them because they connect to nature in that way. Awesome. And I agree with you. So that's the thing, right? In Roman Catholicism, it is very traditional. It is already scripted, there's a lectionary, there's readings of the week, there's certain elements that are included every mass. The only place in which there's really a space to be a little bit creative is the homily. And it makes me upset, right? It's very frustrating to me because I feel like a lot of times it's a missed opportunity. Like the priests are not saying, and they're not saying anything to uplift the community, to give motivation, to say like something,
it's also
beautiful.
repetitive.
It also gets repetitive. Exactly. It's super frustrating. And even as I've gone to different churches, it's a struggle for me because I want to like stand up and be like, that's not true. That's not accurate. Like,
wrong.
But, wrong. Exactly. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so I agree with you. I mean, again, I think it's a missed opportunity. I think there could be so much more of a connection. I think people would actually like going to church and enjoy going to church if there was more of an effort, especially towards young people, especially towards, teens, 20s, 30s. Like
this generation,
you got to do something,
Listen, the misa cannot be 2 hours anymore.
I know. No.
This attention span with these kids, like you could barely keep
30
it.
minutes.
So
30 minutes.
let's do the 45, 30 minute, like let's but let's make it good.
Yeah. And make it good. Right.
That's one of those things that, again, like I like where I'm at because that's what it is. It starts, at 11, but it's an hour of worship. So that's it's great. Like it's music, it's jumping, it's dancing, everybody's cheering, it's like building the energy and you don't realize it. And then, the actual like service is about 30, 45 minutes. And then they do prayer for the last 15. But that's also like choices.
Yes.
It's not like they're going to look at you crazy, like in the Roman Catholic Church where if you walk out before he walks out with the cross, God forbid.
Right. Literally.
Everybody's staring at you as you get up and walk away.
Yeah.
But in different places or different circles, it's also like they do in yoga. Don't do more than you can. Because you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy it if you're tearing up your hamstring.
Exactly.
And it's torture for some people to have to go to church because they also grew up with it being almost like a punishment. Like, I don't want to go to church. And no, tiene que vestirse. You got to wear a dress. You got to wear stockings and this and that. And and it becomes a trauma. It doesn't become like, oh, I'm going to learn the word of God, or I'm going to go learn how to be in my faith and how to depend on my faith and in God to live my life. It's more of like, we have to go because that's what we have to do. And if we don't go, you're wrong. You're wrong. And Diosito's watching you. Y Diosito
the fear.
He's going to be, like, is that instills too much fear? It's like, no, like, you don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I agree with you. I wanted to say before I forget, I'm really, really happy that you found a community, right? That you found a church community where you feel supported and loved, and you feel that sense of peace and happiness when you go, that you want to be there. You want to go. That makes all the difference in the world. Like we were saying, I think it's unfortunate that a lot of times many families, they essentially drag their kids. Sometimes literally kicking and screaming.
I used to get chancletazos before going to church. Like, no quieres ir, no tenemos que ir
ya. Yeah. Literally, like being dragged out of bed at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. Like,
I just want to sleep in. And at least now they have options. At least now they have different service times and different languages.
Yes.
Back in the day, it was like, no, you make it or you don't make it. And it's final. And it's like, no, I can't do this.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. I know. I'm a big fan of the afternoon mass. Saturday afternoon service. Awesome. I love it.
Mine is 11 to 1. I'm happy with that. It is not too early, not too late. Still enough time to get food before or after. I'm good with it.
That's really good. That is fantastic. Yeah, it's a great time. How cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And I also wanted to say, and I'm saying this for a lot of reasons. I don't know why exactly I'm called to say this. It's okay to feel angry at God.
100%.
God can handle it. In other words, like God is God. God can
already
handle it.
knew. He's like, I know I'm
God
gonna make
already
her
knew how you
mad.
felt. Yeah. God already.
If he knows how many strands of hair I have in my head, he knows that he was gonna make me angry.
Right. Yeah. And I say that to say, because I think sometimes, like in the life of faith, or as people are trying to understand their faith, they feel like they can't, right? That they can't feel angry, or they can't yell at God, or they can't feel disappointed, or they can't, that it all has to be like roses and sunshine. Like, no. Like, actually in scripture, we have some crazy stories,
Mhm.
and it doesn't always make sense, right? It doesn't always make sense how things turn out. And that's kind of, I still struggle, right? I still struggle as far as like why certain things have happened to me in life.
I think we all do,
We all
honestly.
do. Yeah,
I think somebody would be a liar if they said that they didn't. Like, you have
totally.
to be living the best, like I don't even know what the best life would even be, because it's like it doesn't matter the money, it doesn't matter the people, it doesn't, if
No.
it's not one thing, it's health, if it's not
Yes.
finances, if it's not family or relationships,
Mm-hmm.
or it's always something. It's always going to be something. So it's like
Absolutely.
finding a
Yeah.
peace in knowing that, hey, not everything is always going to be perfect. But if I
Exactly.
have faith, if
Mm.
I have believe in God, and I believe in what I'm putting the work in, because there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between
Mm-hmm.
praying and asking for things, but also praying and asking for things, but putting in the work, because you have
Yeah.
to put in the work. You can't just expect to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then God is just going to put it on my lap. He's going to
Right.
give me $1 million and I don't have
Right.
to do nothing because I prayed for it. No,
Right.
that's not how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. It's so true. I love that little quote that people say, like, a person might pray to God to win a lot of money, to win the lottery, and God's like, but you need to buy a ticket. You need to go buy a lottery ticket if you wanted to win the lottery, right?
Exactly.
It's so true. We have to put in our part. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic. Oh, this is so cool. Thank you, Jayla. This is really lovely
No, I
to,
love this. I love having these
yeah.
conversations,
This is great.
because most of the time these are, people get heated over conversations like this. So to have like a
Yeah.
nice, like uplifting conversation with different perspectives is always refreshing.
Yeah.
It's especially now in the world that we live in, I feel there's so much anger and greed and
Mm-hmm.
jealousy and hate and
Absolutely.
just road rage and silly things like that. Like, people are
Yeah.
just always in a bad mood. I'm always like trying to find a way to keep it like polite and lighthearted, and
Totally.
because it's so hard
Yeah, it's
nowadays.
so, it's so incredible. Even just driving around here in LA, I'm like, man, like what happened? Right? I'm just kind of like, what is going on in their day that they're so just rageful, literally, like
Yeah,
it's
even like just
so
employees like
sad.
at a store, like, oh, I'll make a phone call, and
So
everybody's so like,
miserable.
yeah, and it's,
It's horrible.
like I tried to stay away from that. They're like energy vampires. So
Totally.
like I try to, remove myself or keep it as limited as possible, especially
Absolutely.
now, with my health scare. So
Yeah.
it's something that I treasure, is my energy
Mhm.
right now,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot happening, unfortunately, in this world.
Totally.
And I hopefully it just starts switching more for the better than it switching, where the trend seems to be going.
Yeah, hopefully, I agree. I feel like it's more effort to be like pissed off all the time, right? It's like
It
that's
really is.
a lot of work to be constantly angry and like yelling and pissed off. It's like, no, no, thank you.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
I've learned
Yeah.
that, like, my paciencia isn't the best, and I've been working on it hard for the last couple years,
Yeah.
because I
Same.
know I'm still a fiery Latina at the end of the day. My mouth is still gonna run at you, like, I'm still
Yeah.
coming at you if you come at me.
Mhm.
But I've learned that you gotta pick and choose your battles, and
Mhm.
most of those battles are not even worth it.
No.
They're not
Amen.
even worth it.
1,000%. 1,000%. I'm just like,
Because
that's
they're
fine.
gonna continue their lives, and you're
Yep.
still mad at home, and then you're taking it out on your kids, you're taking it out on your family or your partner,
Mhm.
or just because you had that one interaction and it ruined everything, and it's just like, I've learned how to woosah.
Woosah, exactly. You have
Woosah.
to. Absolutely. It's so true. It's like you have to, like that's the only way is to kind of just let it roll and like let it ride, like let it let it be. Um yeah, so I'm with you on that for sure. Amazing. So let's see. As we wrap up our conversation, so this question I like to ask all my guests as well. I really feel like it's so important for women in general, but especially as Latinas. Many of us are first generation. Many of us are eldest daughters. I'm an eldest daughter. There's a
Same.
lot there. Yeah, you're gonna say, yeah, exactly. There's a lot there in terms of the inner child, right? I think that inner child healing is something that's so powerful because childhood is such, obviously, right? Such a formative time in our lives, like our self-image, our self-concept, all kinds of things get at least the imprint, right, is rooted in childhood. And so I wanted to ask if there was a piece of advice that you could give to your inner Nina, so little Jaylah, and if you had advice for young people today, just in general, like what advice would you give to
Oh, I'm
young
getting emotional,
Latinas?
oddly enough, because I'm
Oh,
also thinking of my daughter.
daughter, yeah, yeah.
Um, don't let anybody take your confidence.
Mm,
Love yourself.
yeah.
And that comes from a very, very, very early age, and I see it with her. These
Yeah,
kids are ruthless in school.
they
And I
are.
thought I
They're
went through it
cruel.
bad, but seeing my daughter in her school, and I was in the PTA. So I was a PTA mom, and I would see how they would treat each other and stuff. And
Mm.
when people take away something that you don't even know you have,
Mhm.
it when you look back at it, you're like, I wish I would have just kind of kept it closer to me instead of trying to be like everyone else or
Mhm.
trying to fit in. Keeping my own confidence, my own self-love, my own
Yeah.
stand in who I am or who I
Mhm.
was becoming as a person.
Mhm.
Not letting, the weight or this or what they said affect me. And I worked really hard with her on that because these kids are just little monsters.
I don't yeah, I don't
They are little.
understand.
They're ruthless. They don't even care about adults. They'll tell you to your face, like,
Yeah.
why do you look like that? I'm like, ugh. I'm like, child,
It's
who
terrible.
are
Yeah.
you?
Oh.
Like, why do you look so tired? Like, did you not
Oh my
sleep?
god.
Like, I would hear them say all these type of
Oh
things, not
my
to each other and to teachers and to staff. And
god.
I'd be
Oh
like,
my
oh
god.
my goodness, like,
See,
this is what
I
we're dealing with. iPad kids.
I mean, I see I would be really mean and be like, "I'm tired of you. That's why I'm tired." It's so mean.
I don't think my vice president role will have lasted too long.
I know, I know. No, but it's so true. Like it's 1,000% true that
I'm over
children
here
can be
wiping my
ruthless.
tears. So
Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's it touched your heart, and I appreciate that very much. Like, yeah, I think that it's so important that confidence, right? That inner self confidence, that self love. Right, right now it sounds very fluffy, like self love, self care. It's like no, 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 no. This is a different thing. Like we're
no.
talking about like a necessary survival skill, honestly. Like this is a survival skill
Yeah.
because so much stuff happens that if you don't have a strong sense of self, you can get dragged down and pushed down a bad
By
path
and
in
by
a
literally,
second.
and it's like by
Yeah,
like somebody could just flick you
yeah,
and they
in a
change
second.
the entire course of your life
Your whole
because you
trajectory.
just weren't stable enough to
No,
stand there on your own.
and not
And
being
that's
able to say
really
no.
hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
really hard. And also there's the other feeling of when you start getting into that space and really owning it,
Yeah.
that you look back and you kind of feel like you failed yourself
Mm,
because you're like, man, I didn't enjoy this, or I wasn't like, I wish I would have like at my peak, of my
mm,
career, been that person, stood my ground, but in the right way, not
mm,
in the angry self-defense, defensive type of
mm,
way, but the
mm-hmm,
way of like, I know my value
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I
Absolutely.
deserve the respect the same way I respect you,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of our positions. And I think that those are just little things because they do go into that self-love, self-confidence, goes into every aspect of your life,
It really
every
does.
single aspect from your health to
Yep.
relationships, friendships, you name it, work life, careers, everything you touch, that's where it like
Comes
is
from.
basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So being able to speak up, yeah, being able to speak up for oneself, having boundaries, things like that, it does apply in all the, like you were saying, in all those areas. It can be work, it can be with family, it can be with a partner. If you don't know yourself and you don't speak up for yourself, um it's like they say, like, if you're not your biggest cheerleader, who will be, right? Like, we really do
Exactly.
have to be our biggest, like, supporter and cheerleader. And I think it's very much related to external validation. I'm convinced that, for example, this, I don't know why this is such a pet peeve of mine, when really young people are so obsessed about having a little girlfriend or boyfriend.
Oh,
I don't, pardon
because
me,
they
right?
because
It's like,
they feel like that's gonna make them a
it's a
better thing.
status.
Yeah.
It's like a status. Is it right? Like, I don't have children, so I'm trying to verify, right? I feel like it's either the external validation, it's a status symbol of like, hey, look at me, I have somebody or whatever. Or needing the external validation of somebody else saying, you're cute, you're hot, you're this, you're that. Oh my
I
God.
mean, it's also something that's instilled. You look at all these TV shows
Yes.
or coming of
Yes.
age movies. It's not coming of age of
It's
like, hey, I got my
obsessive.
period. No, it's
No.
coming of age of like, hey, I got my first kiss and my little first boyfriend, and then he
Mm-hmm.
cheated, and then this person did this. And,
Yeah.
like I'm watching those things and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, these are
It's
kids.
not good. Right.
I'm like, these are
Exactly.
kids. Like,
Exactly. I would no, my mother would have had my throat if I'd done any of that. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. I was
yeah,
not
I tell
dating
my daughter, I'm like,
anybody.
don't be worried about no little boyfriend. He's not gonna do anything for you. Is he paying your bills? Is he taking you
Exactly.
to Disney? No,
Exactly.
mommy is.
It's exactly. Yeah. No, it's so true. So it's again, it's my point being, like, learning how to build that self-confidence and that self-love from within, and not worrying about the outside or who you're dating or who whatever, right?
And it's
Like,
okay to
it's tough.
explore too. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
stop my daughter from telling me she has a little crush. Like,
for sure.
it's
Yeah.
normal. It's a school thing. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And then the next
Yeah.
week,
It's
he
over. Yeah.
he cheated. He cheated on her, and she left. And I put them together, and blah 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 blah.
Right,
And
right, right, right.
I'm like, you guys are 9 years old. You guys don't even know
Yeah.
what you're talking
It's
about.
hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, like, I saw like so and so at the mall with so and so. Like, oh my God. It's, like, it's
Sorry,
hilarious.
now you're gonna hear my charm. Like I told you,
Oh,
my
no worries.
tias
Yeah.
live all down the street. So
No worries.
one of
No
my
worries.
tias is visiting right now, which is
Oh,
hilarious.
that's cool. But yeah, no, I love that. So yeah, loving yourself. I think that's such a good message. It's so important. And it's something that we need to be reminded of at all ages. Oh, that's the thing too, is that as we grow older, finding ways to embrace,
Sorry.
it's
Let me
okay,
give
to
it.
embrace who we are. That's okay.
Latina families, it happens.
Totally right. I'm surprised my little dogs are not barking because they're like, yeah, it's always noisy over here too, is what I mean. Um, yeah, it's yeah, finding ways to love yourself at every age, right? Because it's true, like, being 20 is different than being 30, is different than being like, I'm turning 43 very soon, right? And so it's like, like, what are the things that I love about myself in this time period, because there's always things that are changing and evolving, and we have to also
Mhm.
adapt too. So
Yeah, no, and adapting is, I think, crucial nowadays in this world that we're living in.
yeah.
You have to find ways to adapt and still be yourself
Hmm.
and still maneuver yourself with, I personally think, your foundation, which should be the goals, morals, ethics
Hmm.
of your culture, of what
Yeah.
you want for yourself and your potential family or partner, job or career or whatever it
Hmm.
may be.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 1,000%. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jayla.
No,
I think
thank
that's
you.
a great point to leave off on. So thank you so much for being here with me today. So everyone, make sure to check out Jayla's new podcast coming in April. It is called Along the Way Podcast.
Yes.
Where can they find you when it comes out?
Well, right now I'm gonna have everything posted on my personal Instagram. So at I am Jaylah. And yeah, I'm gonna be keeping everybody up to date there. I'm working on all the final little details, making sure everything looks clean,
Mhm.
and excited to be launching around my birthday. So stay
Yay!
tuned.
Fantastic. That's so awesome. Fun fact, both Jayla and I are Aries. What's
Yes.
up?
Hey, we're
That
fiery.
firepower. Yup.
we're a little
Literally.
fiery.
Yeah,
A
literally
little
fiery
bit.
Latinas.
A little bit.
It's so fun. Awesome. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope you really love this episode as much as I did. Again, this is the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Guerra. You will find new episodes every Wednesday, everywhere you stream your podcasts on all the major platforms like Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts. And then the YouTube videos will go live at 1:11 p.m. Angel numbers on YouTube. And I will make sure to post those links too. So thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Dr. Guerra. Ciao.
Thank you.